aside from the first and the last pick, people might have an issue with what I'm going to say. Obviously, Houston's going to be at the top because it just seems nobody can beat them and get them out of that one spot. I mean, the Angels did well last year until a certain point in the season. Oakland is going to be last because they are quite possibly the worst team in the league, or just baseball in general.
Yeah.
You can take it how you want, but they are not good. So the Angels better take a couple of games from them. So I'm going to go Angels second, especially because of what we've seen in spring training, especially with a lot of the pitching staff, if they can stay healthy. And obviously, a lot of there were quite a few Angels playing in the World Baseball Classic. So we also saw what they were capable of outside of Trout and Otani. They obviously Sandoval pitched for Mexico. Aaron Loop was a relief pitcher for the US, among others. So that's pretty much why I've got them there. They just have to stay healthy. And please, Otani and Trout, stay healthy. I can't have Trout leaving in the middle of the season again. Seattle, I have going third. And look, granted, the Rangers have done a lot in their offseason, and I think they are getting better. I'm still keeping them fourth. Like I said, you guys can hate me all you want for the middle three of this division, but it's just what I think. You guys, everybody has other opinions, and don't knock mine.
Amen. Yeah, I agree. Obviously, the top and bottom, it's if you were putting anyone but Houston at the top and Oakland at the bottom, you're either just convoluted or you're smoking some really good stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be
And
Houston.
I think the over under for Oakland is the worst of everybody,
I
right?
think so too. There was one, I think Washington, I need to go back in my notes. I think Washington may also be 59 and a half. But I could be wrong. But yes, Oakland is at the very least the worst of the American League in terms of the over under at 59 and a half. Um, yeah, yikes.
To be fair, they're just the worst team in the American League right now
Yeah,
as it is.
100%. And
Because they don't spend money on anybody.
yeah. So I do have Houston, of course, at the top. Look, they're defending champs. They're still the kings of the West. And they bring in
Unfortunately.
Abreu and they have the team there. It's unfortunate. I will say once again, the one positive last year of them winning the World Series, getting Dusty Baker that championship that he so richly deserved. So congratulations to him, but not really a whole lot else. In second, I apologize, Brianna, but I'm going the Mariners. I
Trey
know.
Mancini. Trey Mancini.
Oh, Mancini
that
too. Okay, well, he
was
was.
the highlight too.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, you are correct. Yes, I don't want to miss out
I
on
think he
him.
was traded
Yeah,
because I think he was
mid-season.
traded to Houston mid-season, so he got a ring too,
Yeah,
which was nice
um,
to see.
yeah. So it's a good story there, but for the most part, obviously, they are still cheaters in our books. But yeah, I am going Seattle at the number 2 spot. Look, the great story from last year. I don't think they're sneaking up on a whole lot of teams like they did last year. I definitely see this team as a possible wild card team, very young, athletic. That pitching staff, I need to see just a little bit more. Can Luis Castillo kind of continue what we saw from last year? If that's the case, keep an eye on Seattle for a wild card, but I don't think they have a chance to win the division. The Angels, I have them slotted in at third. Look, you kind of brought it up. This team's going to go really as far as the pitching allows. We know what they can do offensively. Um, it doesn't look terribly positive, but I think from where we were 2 years ago when we were doing the changeup to where they are now pitching wise, they've made leaps and bounds. Obviously, they had an entire draft where they just essentially got rid of the position players off their draft board and just went full pitching. And it's
I
starting to kind of,
only went. I think they only went for two position players in that draft.
okay, yeah, it was the
Everybody else.
COVID draft. It was, 18 of 20 picks were pitchers, and obviously I think Reed Detmers was a part of that, and the Ben Joyce as well. So I think we're starting to see that kind of rise to the top. So that's a positive. I have the Angels in third. I think a wild card may be a little bit of a stretch, but you never know. If they don't have that really rough stretch they had last year, who knows? Maybe things change. Obviously, Texas is in there at number 4. There's just way too many question marks with this team. Obviously, they bring in Jacob deGrom, which is great, but he's already dealing with injury situation. It's almost midseason form for him. So can he stay healthy? Can Marcus Semien return to kind of the reason why he became the highest paid second baseman in Major League Baseball history? And Corey Seager had a good year last year, but is that enough? Is he good enough to kind of be the star of the show of a playoff team? He was the star of the show last year. They didn't make the playoffs. When he was on the Dodgers, I don't want to say he was an afterthought, but he was not the first person you thought of, looking at that lineup. So can he kind of be the main guy? And then for Oakland, look, John Fisher has a net worth of $2.3 billion. And I am never, ever going to tell anyone how to spend their money unless you're an owner of a major league team, franchise, I should say, not just baseball, really anything. This team is an abomination because of what John Fisher has refused to do. Now, look, Moneyball, one of my favorite books ever. Thought it was a great story, but really it goes to the fact that this guy refuses to spend any money. And you're worth $2.3 billion. Either spend some money or sell the team. The only real relevant question for the A's this year is how long until it's announced they're in Vegas? Because they're not going to stay. They can't. And I know there's a lot of talk about possibly a stadium being built there. How can you be a taxpayer in the city of Oakland and want to build this person a stadium? So I don't know. I think baseball needs to look at 5 or 6 owners and essentially tell them, here comes my cursing, but shit or get off the pot. If you're gonna be an owner of a Major League Baseball team, spend some money. I'm not asking you to be Steve Cohen and drop $800 million, but you need to have more than a whatever $35 million payroll. It's an absolute disgrace to the game of baseball and really to your fan base, which is the Oakland A's fan base is very loyal. They've had to go through a lot of BS to get here. Obviously, the late 80s, early 90s, they were a powerhouse, but that was before money was really being thrown around. The A's, they're a joke, and I root against them actively, not because of anything other than the owner. I want him to be forced to sell the team. But Brianna did, of course, kind of allude to the season win total over unders. Oakland 59.5 as we work our way up. And then Texas and the Angels both at 81.5. I have both of those going under. I apologize. I have Seattle at 86.5 under there as well, and 97.5 for Houston. I think they go over. I just think they're going to just feast on not just the American League West teams, but the American League as a whole. It's going to be really interesting to see how many wins Houston gets. I mean, they won, I think, 106 last year. I could see them getting closer to 110 this year. So that's easily an over there. But yes, I do have under for the A's at 59.5, by the way. I once again, actively rooting against this team only because of John Fisher and his inability to spend any money. But Brianna, any thoughts on the season win total over under for the AL West teams?
No, but I'm just gonna say something about the A's. First, where on earth is that stadium? Would that stadium go in Los Angeles?
In Vegas? Oh, they'll figure it out. Trust me. They'll figure it out. Might not be on the strip, but they'll find somewhere.
They'll find somewhere. And my guess, none of the players even want to be there.
I mean,
so
why
at
would
this
you?
point, he's just got a bunch of angry players, angry fan base. He's got to do something.
But see, he doesn't. He owns the team. I mean, in our minds, yes, he has to do something, but does he really? I mean, that's the hard part. That's the frustrating part. And of course,
you're not going to win anything if he doesn't.
He doesn't care. He'll take the profits and he'll run home. I mean, this is a guy, I did a little bit of research on him. This is I don't want to say trust fund baby, but he's the son or he's the offspring of the
Go ahead and just say it, trust fund baby.
Trust fund. Okay, fair enough. He's essentially the offspring of the Gap, the clothing store. I believe it's. I'm not a Gap shopper, but I'm pretty sure it's a clothing store. Yeah. So he's essentially been given all this money now. I guess hats off to him for not being, for somewhat being fiscally responsible, but I don't think owning a baseball team once again, $2.3 billion is this man's net worth. And the payroll is close to 30 million, 35 million. It's a joke. And everything bad that happens outside of injuries or any catastrophic things, they deserve, period. And like you said, if you're a Major League Baseball player, you can't stand to play home games. The Coliseum is old, dilapidated. I'm sure at one point it was a great stadium. It is not even close to being a good stadium right now. And how can you, get players in or get people excited? It's a disgrace, and I hope he's forced to sell the team at some point. But at the same time, I didn't want to bring him up, but I'm forced to. Uncle Rob is never going to mess with the status quo. This is a man who is afraid of his own shadow when it comes to the owners because he is essentially being the only people that actually like Rob Manfred are the people who control his job, and that's the MLB owners. So, that was a little bit of a rant, but anyways, um,
Well, going off of Manfred though, because I just remembered, I don't know specifically, but I know that they are tweaking now that they've talked to the players and everything. They are tweaking the pitch clock rule
yeah, I
to
didn't
allow
dive.
some delays.
Yeah, I didn't dive too deep into it. I did see that headline, and to be honest, I just the last 2 weeks of baseball, or at least the WBC, I've kind of engrossed myself in. I had COVID last week, so I had to watch, or I didn't have to, but I watched a lot of the WBC when it was kind of 4 or 5 games a day, and it was great. And I didn't once I saw that article, I didn't want to read it because there was a chance I was just going to get frustrated again. But I do think we'll dive into that probably next week when the season gets rolling. And I think it's needed because it's hard to like I saw one where a guy fell a ball off his foot and he just has 7 seconds to get back in. Like, come on, like that's we have to draw a line. There has to be a little bit of gray area. Now, believe me, I don't want Angel Hernandez or Joe West. Oh, actually, Joe West is gone, but Angel Hernandez or any of these other subpar umpires to have any gray area at all. But at the same time, there does need to be some tweaking. And at the very least, I'm glad that they are open to kind of fixing this situation and hopefully finding a happy medium because yeah, okay, I think there does need to be a bit of a pitch clock, but what a lot of people don't realize is there's been a pitch clock for the last 10 years. It just hasn't been enforced. So that's the other part of it. But yeah, that was a whole nother tangent. But hopefully that does get kind of worked out. So final
Yeah,
thoughts,
that's pretty much all
Brianna?
I got.